How are we all doing, Locked On Spartans viewers? Yes, this is a bonus episode. Fun little video here. This will be the last 10 minutes of Monday's show. But you know what? It's after the Gonzaga game. So before going any further, today's episode is brought to you by BetOnline. BetOnline has you covered this season with more props, odds, and lines than ever before. It's BetOnline where the game starts. We are recording roughly an hour after Michigan State's 1-point loss against Gonzaga on the aircraft carrier. So this is a good mix, or maybe a bad mix. I don't know. I'll let you be the judge of this. Between pure raw emotion after a heartbreaking loss like that from a slappy of a fan like myself, but also some rationale behind it. Now, this is going to be another judgment call for you, whether you like this rationale that I'm about to have. And I'm going to guess that maybe a lot of you won't, but screw it. We're going to go for it anyway. I understand why some fans might be a little jazzed about what happened on Friday. And no, I'm not talking about, happy that we lost. But look, at the end of the day, Michigan State just lost by 1 against the number 2 team in the country and looked really good against them as well. This was a game where Michigan State was 11.5-point underdogs in Vegas, and they rode it out to the bitter end. The final possession, they had a shot, but unfortunately fell 1 point short. They had the game in a really good spot, actually. 6-point lead late in the game. They were up as much as 12 points in the second half, and that's why I don't feel necessarily all too jazzed about this game. Look, if you are one of these people that are optimistic about what you saw, you feel better about the season outlook, I envy you. And I'm not going to say you're wrong or anything. I mean, we're 2 games into the season, for crying out loud. It's really early to make a judgment call whether you're going to be correct in the long term. But man, I have a hard time putting on my little smile face and saying, hey, moral victory for a few reasons. One, because the logo I'm wearing on my hat right now, it's a Michigan State logo. This is a powerhouse basketball program. Maybe if you were a fan of a middling program like, I don't know, like Northwestern or Illinois, for example, like a team that really hasn't accomplished much in the last 2 decades, like, okay, sure, I take your moral win, but kind of demand greatness here. And this is a team coached by a man that has only achieved greatness here. So excuse me if I'm being a little too greedy and wanted a team to close out a 12-point lead in the second half, or a 6-point lead with under 10 minutes to go, or a team that had a shot at the win in the final possession. And instead of getting a solid playoff at the end, kind of doing not that, actually. And I get it. A player slipped. You couldn't get the ball low in the post. You also only gave yourself 15 seconds to run that play after letting an additional 15 seconds run off before calling that timeout and having that killer play out of the timeout here. But I digress. You don't lose a play off one game. You could sure win one off one game, but that's just not how it worked out. No, really what I am not... I guess concerned will be the word I use, is one, look, it's 3 things, really. The first one, I don't want losing like this to be contagious. How many times do you see it, and not just basketball, but all over sports, a team falters late in the game after having a big lead, and then it kind of happens the next game or 2 games later where, they're always just waiting for that shoe to drop. I hate seeing Michigan State lose like that in the second game of the year, because if that happens, I don't know, Tuesday in the Champions Class against Kentucky, or in the PK 85 or against Villanova, where, hey, yeah, you're up 8 points and kind of let that slip away. That's a damning mindset to have as a team going into Big Ten play. Reason number 2 why I'm not really taking any moral victories out of today is because, well, you kind of saw the issues that we were all concerned about in the offseason. Having little front court depth, not going into the transfer portal and getting another body. Look, Mady Sissoko, which, by the way, game of his life tonight. Looked like prime Dwight Howard for most of that game. He was on fire. If you could take anything good away from this game, Mady Sissoko, 14 points, 9 rebounds. he did great. 6 of 11 from the free throw stripe, which is honestly probably as good as you could hope for from him, especially in an outdoor game. But you kind of wasted that performance. And it was wasted because you have no front court depth, because when Mady Sissoko gets into foul trouble, okay, you got to rely on a kid playing his second ever college game against the preseason National Player of the Year in Drew Timme. Look, Jackson Kohler, did he play great tonight? No. Am I going to kill the kid for not showing out during his second ever college game? No. Going to be a little harder on the guy who's in his 4th or 5th year of college Joey Hauser. We'll get to him in a hot second, but you're so thin in the front court that when Mady gets out with foul trouble, okay, now it's Joey Hauser's turn or Jackson Kohler's turn. This is what happens when you have no one in the depth chart to take over for Mady Sissoko. And this is an issue that we all knew was going to happen in the offseason. We just saw Exhibit A play out tonight. They got blitzed in the second half when Mady was out, whether it be just post defense in general or rebounding. I think Gonzaga had 9 offensive boards in the second half. Gee, if only there were a magical, here, we'll call it a portal. Yeah, a portal where you can draw, players looking for other teams. If only you could just dip into that in the offseason. But again, I will check myself. It is just a second game. I won't make a sweeping referendum for how this is going to play out the rest of the season. But, okay, a little concerning that all the naysayers that said that, front court depth will be a massive issue. That's one tally mark in the unfortunate win column for us. And number 3, reason why I'm just really not going to be all hunky-dory. Oh, they tried their best. It was on an aircraft carrier. It was against a good team. Look, it is those upperclassmen. Story time. It's story time right now. I hate being this mean and blunt and everything about it, but I do a podcast where I talk about college sports. I'm not going to sugarcoat everything and say, oh, they're good students. No, what matters is what happened on the court. And the story time is that I remember back in high school, we played a football game. Well, okay, everyone else played a football game. I was just kind of there on the bench, just watching them play. But while I was on the bench, our center had 7 snaps go over the quarterback's head. And every single time, it was like a loss of 15 or 20 yards. It was ridiculous. We ended up losing the game by 3 or 4 points or something like that. And it was a big game, too. Everyone's emotional after the game, and the coach starts the post-game huddle with saying, gentlemen, a game never comes down to one player, which is absolutely something a coach says when it comes down to just one player. Now, very rarely does a game come down to one player. Might have just saw it tonight, though. One box out from number 10 would have been the difference in a 1-point defeat versus a 1-point victory. Just one box out in a half where Gonzaga is getting 9 offensive rebounds, instant putbacks, maybe even, I don't know, if you're going to foul Drew Timme, make it count, make it a hard foul, or, I don't know, maybe just a field goal on the other end wouldn't kill you either. Look, I get it. I can't be overly harsh on Hauser. He won us that Davidson game last year. It was awesome. He looked great against Northern Arizona. And we just talked about, too, after the Northern Arizona game, how important early season confidence will be for the rest of his year. So, look, I know that what I'm saying is cutting against that grain, but also I'm not going to hop on this camera and microphone and say, yeah, oh, well, he had a tough game. It wasn't really, it was a lot of kids' fault. No, that was a horrible performance. And we have seen time and time again that he's the human form of cryptocurrency. It's going to be really awesome some games. Going to be just downright horrible other games. And that was a really, really rough game. Also, speaking of seniors too, guys that have been here for so long, and I get it was just one shot, one possession, but less than 2 minutes to go. Malik Hall grabs the rebound, 20 seconds left in the shot clock, and yeah, let's try a 12, 13-foot jump shot, because jump shots are just going so great for everyone on both teams. Don't work the ball on the block or anything like that. No, just jack that up as soon as you possibly can. Of course, didn't go in. And, that was a great opportunity to get a late important bucket. But, oh, man, it really, really hurts because the game was right there. And good teams win those games. Like good teams, when they're up by 12 points, no matter who the opponent is, when they're up 6 points with under 10 minutes to go, I'm sorry, they find a way to win those games. And maybe this team will end up being good later in the season, but jury's still out on them. And they could have had case closed tonight if they closed out that game. But here we are just looking at a Tuesday game against Kentucky, which, oh, great, awesome, has another preseason player of the year candidate in the front court in Oscar Tshiebwe. So yes, if they win on Tuesday, if they, go pretty well through the gauntlet of the PK 85, the Villanova game, which, by the way, Villanova just lost to Temple tonight as well. If they beat Notre Dame, if they get out of this gauntlet of a schedule unscathed, okay, we might be able to look back at this aircraft carrier game and being like, see, it wasn't so bad after all. But right now, in this moment, as you're 1-1, blown opportunity. Real bad blown opportunity. And, oh, man, it didn't even have to come down to jump shooting. Like, look, both teams were shooting the ball horrible because it was an outdoor game, odd conditions. And we all knew this going in here, but, man, it was a game where a lot of the mistakes happened inside, whether it was depth, whether it was just the execution of just not boxing out. And look, I get it. Believe me, I get the whole, like, Drew Timme can get away with whatever he wants. He barreled his shoulder into our defenders how many times, but look, you also could have mitigated that damage there just by boxing out. And whether it's right or wrong, it's not right, but it's just the fact of the matter is that when you're a preseason player of the year like him, you're going to get any call that you want. You will be able to do whatever. And so, it just sucks. And look, it's just do what is in your control. And what is in your control is trying up better plays at the end of the game, or boxing out, or, well, not wasting possessions with under 2 minutes in the game. And that's whatever. I'm sorry to be such a mopey Zooline about this. I'm sorry to be a little Eeyore cloud on this Friday night. And if you are one of those people that have taken a moral victory and feel good about this team going forward, I hope I didn't ruin your vibe, because I genuinely do envy that. I just don't have that in me, because it was right there. It was right there, and that would have been a really nice resume builder. Once I get March, it might as well be 18 months away, but that would have been a nice little notch on your resume right there. But, oh well, it's not. You lost by 1, so there you have it. We will be back with more. You guys know where to find us. Locked on Spartans, 5 days a week here. Thank you so much for giving us a listen. If you're tuning in on a Friday night or Saturday, or really any pocket of your weekend, it's a lot to ask for people to take 12 to 15 minutes out of their weekend to talk to them. So thank you so much for letting my face and voice into your life. I hope you enjoy the rest of the weekend, because you guys are just the best, and you only deserve the best. Let's go green. Enjoy the rest of your weekend. Love you all. Let's go. Let's go.